right, what's going on, everybody? I am the one, the only, the WOOKIE, joined as always here by one Mr. Big Z. What's up, Z?
Hey.
We got
We're
JR.
talking about some exciting Keyforge.
Exciting stuff. JR?
Hello, Keyforge community.
And Dan is on assignment and has spotty internet connection.
Yay.
As we know it right now, he is infiltrating the depths of FFG to get us some answers. Yup. Okay.
Crawling through the sewers right now.
Anyways, moving along. We do got a ton of stuff to talk about today. Number one, we're just going to kind of get it out there, get it out of the way. It has been officially now stated that Dark Tidings will not come out next week as planned. Did they actually give us a date? They just said sometime in April, right?
I've seen April 9th in a couple places from distributors. So that is the date.
Our distributor told us April 12th.
Ooh.
Which I don't know if that makes sense or not. I didn't actually look
I'm pretty sure I heard April 9th from mine.
Maybe it was the 9th. I might have to go
Which is ours. So I'm not sure what you're...
Yeah, I had April 9th. It was originally scheduled, I thought, for March 12th.
So, with that being said, you won't be able to scan your decks in right away because someone has forgotten the password.
Yes, there are decks out in the wild on the east side of the world. They will be scannable at some point in time. FFG is working on that, so don't freak out. Get your decks if you can, and we're prepared to scan them at a later date.
But I'm not going to know that.
Doesn't that just mean they'll almost certainly give extra shards when you can scan?
Probably. I would expect something again.
It's one for one.
So we can get more vapor chairs?
Well, the chairs aren't available anymore. I don't know if you listen to your own podcast, but we do say that
they never were available, guys.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
You still see pictures of them if you go to the FFG OP page and go look at Vault Tour prize wall. Still lists the chair.
Really?
I just want a set of 12 decks with my name in them. That's what I'm really looking for, guys.
For the 2,000 shards. Vault.
So is that going to be Rock Grub Jr. now? Is that what decks are?
Ooh.
Ouch. I'm going to go and pull that knife out of my back right now.
Holy macaroni.
So on that note, let's talk about why Ewok sucks at Keyforge.
We have a whole nother article to go through, and just, I guess, okay, well, let's just go through why I suck at Keyforge. Today brought to you by JR.
Hello, Keyforge community. This is my first time. Oh, it's not my first time in this chair.
It's nice and warm.
My name is JR, and I suck at Keyforge.
Why do you suck at Keyforge, JR?
Well, there are many, many, many reasons. However, today is all about not playing or seeing your own combo. And to this I say, what combo? There's a combo in a deck?
Yeah, there is a combo in the deck that you borrowed.
So when you borrow decks, make sure you understand what the deck's combo is.
Yes. So
it was a hard lesson.
What does Soulkeeper do?
I think Soulkeeper says this creature gains the destroy effect of destroy the opponent's highest power creature. Something to that effect.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Ewok, what does reassembling automaton do?
I plead the fifth. I do not know.
How about you, Wookie? What's reassembling automaton say?
I'm pretty
that
sure
one's long, but basically the gist of it.
As long as there's another creature on board, instead of destroying reassembling automaton, you just put it on a flank.
Yeah, so that's its destroyed effect, right?
I'm sorry, yes.
That actually replaces the destroyed effect. So, right, the thing with when you have the Soulkeeper on the automaton, if your opponent kills your Soulkeeper, he can choose to trigger his replacement effect,
the automaton,
eliminating the destroy, and Soulkeeper doesn't go off. But if you kill your automaton, you get choice. This all comes down to...
It's the time the destroyed keyword. That's the important part here. Because it has a destroyed keyword, both are bold, so the active player gets to pick which destroyed effect happens first. So you could choose Soulkeeper, because at that point it is marked for destruction. Then you choose Automaton if you kill it on your own turn, and you unmark it for destruction or wherever it is. That part's always weird. Still weird. It's better than it used to be. And then you get that free kill, often sending your Automaton in to kill a 3-power creature and their biggest creature, and then just moving it to somewhere else in battle. Which is a pretty effective combo when you're facing, Saurians. Which happened in one very, very recent live aired and recorded event that Ewok was featured in.
It is amazing when you play poorly and then they go ahead and record it, and then you get chastised because you're on a podcast. It is absolutely amazing. No, to be honest, while there were some hard lessons that were learned, there are lessons that are learned, and some of us learn through seeing others. I had not actually seen the combo before, and so that was definitely brought to my attention. I'm now well aware of it.
Better here, though, you are not the only one in the KFPL that didn't know about this combo, because I was talking to another KFPL Season 2 player that was talking about their decks, and I was like, oh, but it has this combo, so that's a good part of the deck that he's using, not in your group. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I went through that whole conversation with him literally 10 days before that happened in your game. And I was sitting there thinking, it's like, well, at least he wasn't alone.
Yeah,
I mean, it did make it less frustrating at that moment, and I do take some responsibility. I didn't say anything about it when you borrowed the deck. It's my deck.
I should have been a smarter player in that regard. The other thing that made it worse is I had, with one of the other decks I'm borrowing, Xerxes, I had some issues in the playtesting where I put my good friend Brent next to Archimedes, and I had, again, the double destroyed effects happening in the same window, and with that, it created some issues. And so for some strange reason, that was what was stuck in my head, is that, it just doesn't matter. It's going to go ahead and trigger the one piece. But again, know what your timing window is, know what the cards say, play this out. And, whether you're in KFPL or whether you're not, and you're just learning, and this is your first game, if you don't know, ask. There's a little bit of embarrassment. I didn't ask, and, I learned, and I learned the hard way, and I learned with some embarrassment. But there it is, my friends. I will now be a better Keyforge player as a result.
We all still love you, Ewok. No hard feelings or anything. It was, as you said earlier, I know we were off there. It was a huge learning experience, and that is a part of Keyforge. You live, you learn, you get better.
And I will say, no disrespect to Future Beans. He played his heart's content, and he deserved to win that game. So while I made a mistake, that is not what I'm banking on. I still love the opening piece with Control of the Weak and Reverse Time, and I could see it, especially with my hands that I had a 4-2 split with no disc there. So that's what's dangerous with his deck. And again, he played it very, very well in that regard. You just got to be error-free when you're playing those KFPL matches or any match. And if not, try and learn from them.
Sure.
Yep.
And that is mostly what our Why We Suck at Keyforge segment is about. It's learning from what we're talking about.
Knowing destroyed effect triggers and timing is, I think, even becoming more important, because there are some cards in the new set that hand out destroyed effects too. And then there's still Kyria Ludo, and I see people mess that up a lot. And that's one you really got to pay attention to, because it can either be a great benefit or a great loss to you with Kyrias and Ludos. And there's lots of those in the current meta.
I think that's the opportunity to be able to play better players. The ability to play people who have more knowledge of the game is what makes you better. And I saw that in sports growing up. I still see that here. A big shout out to Grant. I did play my week 2 match versus Grant. And, so there's lessons to be learned from all of these areas. I can tell you right away, I did pull an individual game win. The overall match went to Grant 2-1. But all 3 of those games were close. They finished 3-2 in game 1 for me, and 3-2 in game 3. So I feel I'm at least getting better. My goal is still to win one match. So let's see if we can be able to do that.
And on that note, I want to say congrats to Grant, because he did take down the gauntlet last weekend. We finished that event. It ended up only taking 12 rounds to get through 21 players with 4 decks apiece.
I had a lot of fun.
Grumble, Heart of the Forest, lots of Heart of the Forest in that event.
I played in it. I made it all the way to the finals, and then I lost to a great player. That's all I'm going to say about it.
On a KFPL deck, right? That same deck that was in our SASCAP event is also a KFPL deck. Wrecking Face over there a little bit too.
And I will tell you, in my KFPL match, I did ban that same sub 75 SAS Heart of the Forest deck. I had one deck that could routinely beat it, but the other 2 simply couldn't. And if you strike that or you don't, I don't have a win con against it. So that's an auto loss. So there's some real thought process when you're bringing that triad and how you're going to be able to deal with it. So I can tell you in that match, I actually faced his other 2 decks. Both are very, very good. And that's the route that I went. So the decks that I have can definitely compete. They were in it the whole entire time. And so that deck was a solid heart deck.
Sure.
I can't say shit. I went 1-4.
I have, in the last 3 weeks, I've learned more about solid heart decks than I ever want to know. I've seen a bunch, and they still make me cringe and cry a little bit.
I was with Grant and Eric back in the day when we pretty well stress tested the heart decks. I never liked it then, don't like it now. We found one, decided that it could win games, and I decided I hated to play that kind of Keyforge, and haven't done that. Don't plan on to going forward. But either way, we've got more exciting stuff to come from than that.
Yeah. Enough of that crap. Let's talk about the fun stuff.
Well, Wookie, how did you do in the gauntlet?
Oh, yeah.
You actually made it out and played, man.
Mine went straight to DVD, just like yours. I went 1-4. I took a deck. I took decks that I haven't played with in a really freaking long time. We're talking, I don't even remember what I played with now. Godsend, which I got in an AOA premiere when we were trying to make pre-releases a thing in the Milwaukee area, and that just never kind of panned out. That was the deck I got there, and then I brought out some oldies, but I hadn't played them in so long. I forgot a lot of the triggers. I made mistakes. And not only that, Dan likes to pair me up against this deck doesn't like Sanctum. Oh, look, Sanctum. This deck doesn't, I knew my AOA deck was, my options were garbage, and then Dan kindly pointed out to me that if I was not stupid, I could have asked for a deck, which I didn't, but is what it is.
Yeah, so. I had plenty that could have been fine in that event.
Yeah, I really, out of all the boxes I've ever bought, all my halfway decent AOA is all above 75. I mean,
that's normally a good problem to have because that means good things.
Yeah, but after 77, it dumps right down to 69. I don't have any in between there for some reason. So it's like 86, 81, 77, boo, 69. Like, where's all the decks in between?
Was there a single Jenka deck in the field?
Mine.
If there was one, I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. Yep, you were playing. Because, my Big Fire would have been pretty good in that event.
Yeah.
But nobody played it.
Yep.
It sat home by itself.
Yep, and then I played some other fun stuff, and just it didn't match up, so it is what it is, We all have those...
That was Challenge. We used Challenge, and, it dislikes you.
Mm.
Weird. Maybe it's because I stopped payment on
that day, too, weren't you? Like, hey, why am I still paying?
Why am I still paying for Challenge? Cancel payment, and then all of a sudden it's just like, yep, we're going to give you all the hard ones. So,
all right.
Yeah, but the event went very well. It was a lot of fun. We are talking about forming up some other kind of seal here, maybe for the end of March or early April. Not sure yet.
It's all right.
But you can come discuss that with us on our Discord if you're interested in helping figure out what next cool event we should run. Probably with a Crash Baldoon Store Championship kit for prizes.
Sweet.
Woo woo.
I just bought a ton. What about another 2 boxes of Mass Mutation here? For no apparent reason.
One of our teammate
it's fun.
buddies just cracked some pretty hot fire in his 6 boxes that he bought recently. So if you get his luck, you're going to be pretty happy. He cracked an 87 and an 88 today.
Ooh.
Yeah. Pretty nice. One of them's actually good.
Actually good. Well, glad to know there's good stuff in Mass Mutation.
Brutal.
I mean, the other one's playable, I guess. I mean, it has the points. It's going to do stuff, but... all right, so there's another article that was released today that's got a lot of people pretty excited. So, Ewok, you said you got to peruse it pretty good, right?
Yes, Keyforge Adventures. Are you guys ready to go on an adventure?
Always.
All right.
I'm wearing my adventure shoes right now.
I'm just picturing some very special shoes there. For Keyforge Adventures, actually, this was talked about and kind of discussed, leaked a little bit earlier from Aaron. But basically, they're bringing out some solo variants where you can go ahead and play against 2 individual... I don't know, what will we consider it?
They're
challenges, co-ops. I mean, and the other piece that was really cool about it was the idea of actual being co-op. So you can play with others with Keyforge. So that is huge news. One is Rise of the Kraken will be available in late April, and the other one, The Abysmal Conspiracy, will be available in May. And I give props, FFG, they're putting it out as a free download. So, I mean, literally, this isn't even something that's going to cost you anything. Maybe a little bit of time and some money to print. But that is it. And they look pretty
sweet. They could have made money here, too. Like,
they
I feel like, this could have easily been marketed for $10, just like all their other stuff. And they would have made money, and it's going to be print and play for free. And
it could be that these ones are being designed to test the market, and a more fleshed out, larger adventure scheme could be coming down the road too.
Yeah, like have a bigger thing. These are the adventures, and there could be like a Keyforge campaign, which you actually like buy. It's more like a board game, which would make sense because FFG is obviously a board game company. So I could see that being a thing. So it is. I think the biggest thing here is that Keyforge is not dormant. People are spending time to make this stuff. There are more ideas. There's more stuff coming down the pipe that we just don't know about. My entire, the 3 of us, we all play Keyforge, so I will do a print and play of this. We're going to sit down with some A-level decks, the 3 of us, and see how some fairly renowned decks go up against Kraken. We're going to have Galaxy.
I think the challenge is going to be
versus Kraken and see who wins. Let's go.
I think the challenge is you play on 3-player difficulty and see if your A-level deck can take it.
Alone?
Yeah, but on 3-player difficulty.
See. I mean, it loses its armor after you forge keys, right? So, by turn 3, Galaxy Kraken will have no armor. So...
I'm just like, the full rules are out, but I'm just seeing it. It didn't say anything. I'm like, I play Cyberclone. I Cyberclone it. Good game.
Someone mentioned something about it in the chat. I think it's going to be like anytime it would be destroyed or whatever, it's going to just lose a certain amount of
it'll just take some damage.
That's my assumption, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean...
out.
Well, that's what I was picturing.
They released
is that
what the Kraken card says.
Yeah.
So
Should
we know what it says.
Well, go ahead and read it. That's fine. Or do you want me to? I have it up.
I got it right here. So, the Kraken, his power is equal to 30 times the number of players.
Mm-hmm.
The Kraken only deals 3 damage while fighting. The Kraken gets +2 armor for each unforged key the active player has.
Mm-hmm.
If he's destroyed, the players win the game.
Yeah.
And then there's location cards, which I'm guessing is going to have some...
you move from location to location, and there's going to be a Kraken deck that does stuff to you. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that works. And I'm sure there will be some kind of rules about destruction cards in relation to the gigantic creature in the middle of the board. Yeah, should be fun. And I assume that the Kraken might actually be in their lore, so if you play the RPG, you might see some adventures and location cards that aren't in the actual Keyforge card game reference that are in the RPG, because they will be referencing probably real locations in the Crucible universe.
So you guys are going to make me do it, huh?
Make you do what?
I got to be the bad guy?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know what you're talking about. This is a good thing.
No, it's free, which is a good thing. But is this really what we were looking for?
We are looking, let me restate this. We are looking for anything that shows the game is still alive and viable. And I think this not only shows that, but there's interest in taking it further. That we're not just continuing with Dark Tidings, which is super exciting right now, but that they're willing to offer, the books. They're looking at the arts. They're looking at being able to go ahead and essentially produce 2 other pieces that will get maybe even a new player base. So I think this is very exciting.
I think this is kind of what I'm looking for, because I know they can't promote competitive play right now because it's possible in a lot of places. And this is a way to still play Keyforge in a new way with decks that you already have. So yeah, I like this a lot.
Okay. I'm just asking because this is not at all up my alley.
I mean, my background was board games, so I got here because I own a ton of Fantasy Flight board games, and yeah, I do like this kind of thing. So I will sit around the kitchen table with my wife and son, and we're going to beat down the Kraken in a bunch of different ways.
Okay, so my experience here, the World of Warcraft collectible card game.
World of Warcraft.
They when the game was actual printed cards, they made raid decks then. That you did the same thing, you'd take a team and play against it. And they were quite fun, and even my highly competitive friends that I played with then, where we were going to Dark Moon fairs and trying to compete at the top level, we would play with the raid decks outside of that, because, it gets a little boring just to mash your best decks against each other all the time. It gives you something, and in what is now Hearthstone, they're still very, very successful in that game with their single-player content, which is the same kind of thing. So this is actually a very proven system over on the WoW and Hearthstone side. Like, they've been doing this as single-player or co-op kind of deck stuff, and it has done very well. Like, that's actually the only reason I ever put any money into Hearthstone anymore anyways, is just to play more of that stuff, because I think it's fun.
I was actually thinking about it, because other people are like, well, how can this be like compared to other people? Maybe people go start posting like how many turns it took. So I was thinking about that, and I think this is something that AC might have a competition for when it does come out. See, like, it has to be recorded, so yeah, it'll be a fairly long posted YouTube somewhere, or however you get it to us. But if you can record, a session that like whoever beats the bad guy in the least amount of turns could win some kind of prize. That could be something fun.
Well, and
it could be something fun.
I'll say, Sheep, you and I played MechWarrior long ago, and one of the things that happened for each of the months is that they had different scenarios. So this is something that could potentially be brought out in the future, where there's scenario work. Maybe one person plays the deck, because you actually see that there's a deck that's provided with the Kraken. So there are options for Fantasy Flight going forward that they can actually create some fun little scenarios, and they were a blast. I mean, they weren't always equal when we played for MechWarrior, but we had a very competitive group, and we still got into that. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm curious to see how they're going to interact with some of the purge, like Fangs of Gizelheart, or destroyed creatures with a power higher than 3 with Spirit's Way. But I assume that they've thought that through, and that there's actual answers, not just, here's a card or two that absolutely destroys it, bounce. But no, I'm excited to be able to see what's happening. And I'm honestly more curious about what's in the decks that they're going to provide.
Yeah. And this is another thing. I think there will be some entrepreneurial people out there that might make some money off of this, although I'm not sure they should be. I'm sure that'll happen, so we'll see. Because, like, I wouldn't mind a fancy set of these cards. I'm not going to do that.
Oh, I was going to say, you know what you can do, right?
There's that company that does custom printed playing card decks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure somebody will have a file uploaded before long where you just send it to that company and you're $12 and they print them on playing cards.
You can also just take them to... so this has been a thing for many moons now with a lot of cards that are dead that have seen like a player committee come in and handle them. I mean, they're even doing like Raw Deal, if anybody remembers that card game. They're even doing foil versions of them now too. Like there's complete superstar bases that have foil versions of them as well. So like it's really you can just take them to Kinko's. And Kinko's will actually, they have the...
Yeah, I know the Netrunner universe has a player community that keeps it alive. So if Keyforge does somehow go under, it could be KFPL and AC bringing you next set.
I'm sure, yeah.
It's not going under.
Let's not go that far that quickly. But but yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely ways, you know, obviously they release a mass file and then you take them to Kinko's. Kinko's will cut them for you. And you know they fit your sleeveys and you're good to go. So that would be one hell of an undertaking, especially considering how this game is done. Where basically you have to come up with a set and then get the algorithm to make sure everything kind of works.
Sure,
that would be fun.
I mean, you could even start by going ahead and creating your own little scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So some fan fiction that's out there. I know there's a number of board games that utilize a solo variant, and that's what I was actually looking at is what are some of the best decks in the world? How much amber do they typically produce on a turn? How much amber control? So going through and grabbing some of those stats, you can actually set up for some single-player games. I haven't gotten too far with the playtesting, kind of what I was looking at. So I see that fitting in very well with what they've done, which I'm really excited to be able to actually see what they've put together.
I guess for the board gamer, it's fun because now this kind of brings that vibe to it. It just, unfortunately, this doesn't do much for me. Maybe I got to play it before I get into it. But, I mean, it doesn't do much for me. I would have...
Well, I got to say, this is far more interesting to me than trying to play Constructed Keyforge. I'm twice as interested in this.
Like, yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like, I had some interest in the RPG because I do occasionally play D&D. It's not often, but I do. So there was like a little bit of an interest there. But like this is definitely something I could sit down with friends, family. I have a lot of casual, really close friends in my life. Like this is something that since they know Keyforge now, they would be more inclined to do than like, hey, do you want to come out to this competitive event? You're probably going to get crushed because you haven't played in X amount of time. They would definitely do this. Like
this would be far easier to teach my kid the mechanics of Keyforge with this than...
Yeah, and that was another thing I was about to say. If I were having to teach anybody brand new, which I've taught a lot of people this, I would probably start off this way. Although it probably does kind of teach them the wrong thing initially, but that's easy to unwind.
Fighting's good!
This is a brawl, not a race! This is right. But still, you could teach them going through the motion control, the board state, reefing, like all the things.
I want you to know, Wookie, I'm still with you, and that once COVID goes ahead and loosens up, we can try some Cube and we can try some Constructed. I need to be able to play it before I can make a call, but I think there's options for both, but I'm glad that we have this option as a board game player.
I will say my son loved to play Cube. Like, that is, my friend Eric is Eric and Colby from BDQ's inactive now. We're two of the originators of, like, Cube as we know it. And he visited us one Christmas, and he built one for us, and my son loved to play Cube. So there are definitely people that enjoy Keyforge that love that format. So
I would just also like to say I'm about halfway through my boxes here, and nothing, not a thing. But Anyways, where are we going to next? What do we got? Are we back into spoiler zone? Or
before we do spoilers, we're going to do promotions because some people don't want the spoiler stuff. So promotion, again, we're still in KFPL. We're looking at week 3 this week. Lots of fun stuff there. The biggest promotion, though, is March 20th is coming. Dual Survival. You pick whether you want SAS cap with restrictions, no hard, no Jinka there, 75 SAS cap, or unleash all the restrictions and go no restriction, any kind of deck you want, so you don't have to be pitted up. If you don't want to be facing a bunch of A decks, you can stay down in the SAS cap land. If not, go for broke and go that way. I will give you guys a heads up. If you're listening to this show, right now we have fewer entrants for the SAS cap. So if you got some nice SAS cap stuff and you don't want to go up against the Juggernaut, sign up for our SAS capped version. And at this time, we have significantly less people signed up for that event, therefore making it a little bit easier to get your ticket into the Season 3. So yeah, try to earn your way. And that's really it. Dan, you want to plug our 3 things going on?
Yep, we still have Tuesday Night Sealed, Mass Mutation available, now French Worlds Collide available. And then, or you can bring your own too. Like if you can get your own deck at a local shop and open it for us on camera, you can bring your own decks. You don't have to buy them from me. So that's Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Central. Thursday nights is open Chainbound at the moment, 8 p.m. again. And then Sunday is also Chainbound. Occasionally we'll put a SAS restriction there, or many of the players will play with it, although right now we don't have one. Those are all 8 p.m., and Tuesdays and Sundays count towards our store leaderboard and leaderboard decks. That's pretty fun.
Alrighty. Is it safe to put the spoiler alert out at this
Yes,
time?
we are moving into spoilers, so if you are not here for this, keep forging keys, see you in the Crucible. The rest of you, come this way.
Alrighty.
Right, last week we talked about Logos. We were pretty excited to see what Logos had to offer. And this week, right, we're going to talk about, well, more Logos, because the set is now fully spoiled. You can know every card that's in the set. So we're going to talk about Logos again, and I don't think our excitement has been dampered one
Not
little
at
bit
all.
for Logos.
I am still super pumped. It's always been my favorite set. It is now going to be the best house in any set of any house coming soon to a store near you of an ambiguous date.
Which may or may not be April 9th.
Which may or may not be able to stand. Right. But either way.
So first card we missed last week is Professor Gwen, 2-power, 0 armor, skirmishing creature. Don't know. I'm going to guess it's a scientist, but we don't know. Fight, you may choose a card from your archives and put it into your hand. This is also an evil twin. I should state that.
Yes, it is an evil twin. That is its rarity, but we do know the real Professor Gwen, I think, is common somewhere. No, uncommon. So this is an uncommon evil twin. I just scrolled down a little bit. I like this because the amount and ways you archive, like normally I wouldn't care for this, but because of the way you archive, like a lot of that randomness, top 2 cards, all this crazy archiving, the fact that you're choosing the card that comes to your hand, this is almost as priority kill as a bat drone. I would say it's probably higher threat than a bat drone because your opponent is going to want to keep coming back to Logos in the set. I wish it did have like elusive something. 2 power, 0 armor, not elusive. So it is as easy to kill as an Umbra or a bat drone. But even though I think its threat level is higher than a bat drone or Umbra, I think it gets killed less because people don't fully realize what this is going to do, and it starts beating their face. So I think it's going to get more uses. So I kind of like it.
There will also be logo sets that just don't archive much. I mean, even with all the cards that are in this set, there will still be some that just don't archive much, and this guy will be kind of sad.
You still think there are people out there that don't understand the power of archive?
No, I'm just saying you will get a set of
No, I was
cards
talking to Z.
that does not actually.
I think they'll understand the power of Archive. I just don't think they will fully appreciate it in live play, what this card can do. I had many people that could have killed, what was it called, Project Zix, that didn't, and that devastated them.
Well,
And that
Project
card
Zix is tough to kill. He is a 6-power creature.
I'm talking about scenarios where they could have,
And they
didn't
chose
evaluate
not
the
to.
scenario.
He's
correctly.
even way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's way better.
He lets you
Because it's just
play a card.
any card, any house, doom. There you go. So I think there could be some underestimation of the card's value. I still think it is pretty easy to take care of. There's not a lot of creature protection in this set, so
I guess I'm a little bit on that side. I am not hugely concerned about this because, I mean, you take a Logos card, you can play it. That's pretty good, but if you're already out of Logos cards in your archive, this guy doesn't necessarily do much.
I think it does end up getting more use than it should. So, in the decks where he matters, he will be. But you're right. There are a bunch of decks where he will matter. So
I mean, it's gonna.
I guess she. It is
a she, but
well, we don't know. We have to ask them. They may be whatever they want to be. All right. So
Dr. Viractor. Viractor?
Right. This is part of a 4-card set, right? This is
yeah.
Linked rarity?
Yeah,
he's linked
this
to that.
card is linked to. This is card 8. It is linked to 9, 10, and 11 in the logo set.
So, Viractor is a 2-power, 0-armor human scientist with elusive, reap. Put an upgrade or action card from your discard pile on top of your deck.
It's like a slow walls.
I was going to say, do you want me to read the other ones and then we can kind of go through them all?
Yeah.
All right.
Go to Roof Lavatory.
So, Roof Lavatory is a location artifact. Each friendly scientist creature enters play ready.
There's a lot of those.
Reckless Experiment. You'll get a Pip of Ember every time you play it. This creature gains Reap. Play the top card of your deck. Oh, that seems vicious. Anyways, let's go on to Groundbreaking Discovery. Get a Pip of Ember every time you play it. If you control Dr. Viractor, Roof Laboratory, and Reckless Experiment, destroy each card in play, unforge an opponent's key, and purge Groundbreaking Discovery.
So gain an amber, destroy everything, your opponent unforges a key. This is literally the first time we've ever seen truly permanent key removal. All of the other ones are like
temporary.
You get the amber, or when the turnkey leaves, it comes back, or shenanigan thing.
And it's a total board wipe.
Yeah, and it's a
gizmo.
board wipe.
It's a gizmo in there too.
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting, right? That seems pretty crazy. What did it say? Right? When was the timing? You just had to have all 3 cards?
You gotta
all
have
3 cards are in play. One of them's a creature, one of them's an upgrade, but the thing is, the artifact allows the creature to come in ready. The creature can reap
come into play, Reckless Experiment. So now you can trigger Viractor to put a card back on top of your deck, and then use the Reap from Reckless Experiment to play that card, and then use Groundbreaking Discovery if it's in your discard pile to actually just blow up the entire board and have your opponent unforge a key.
This is an interesting combo. I don't think it's is as devastating as our Data Forge scenarios.
It's tough to set up, but I could. It is a 4-card combo, but with the amount of archiving in logos, I can't say it's not going to happen.
Yes, I think, though, that the artifact that brings in your other scientists ready could make for some absolutely silly logo stacks, too.
Because we talked about Hide and Vellum. We already talked about on the last cast about how Hide and Vellum are in set. Mm-hmm. My biggest issue with Hide and Vellum always has been is they rarely ever get a use effect. Here, they're both scientists. They both come in ready. I can go down to Professor Gwyn. The real Professor Gwyn that we just talked about, no, that one's a Chinese. Oh, no, it is a scientist. So that one's also a scientist. Like, all of these cards that never get to be used will always be used. So it's damn near like a one-sided artifact dust witch, unless your opponent happens to have logos, which I guess is true everywhere.
Yeah, well, let's...
Does it say your scientist or all
scientists? It's just friendly. It's a one-sided dust witch for your deck. Like, man.
So you talked about Hide and Vellum. We actually did see that there is quite a bit of other items. You have some power that's going to come from Novu Archaeologist that's there. You actually get to go ahead and get some piece from Feel of the Researcher. It's just really shocking to see. You saw Professor Gwyn. You can see when we're going ahead and looking at Edai. There's a lot of witches that are here. Scientists. The Bilge Watchman is a scientist, so there's power.
Yeah.
Is that other PI whatever? Is that the one that's Reap Draw 3?
Yeah, if the tide is high, draw 3 cards. That's PI Sven, and that is also a scientist.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, like, how about Legacy Sutterkins to go with this? And I'm like, why?
Why? You already have Reap Draw 3, and you only need one dude instead of 3. Like, it's...
Yeah, so... Yeah,
wow. Just Hide and Vellum. Hide and Vellum together are Reap, gain 2 Amber, draw 2 cards, archive 2 cards. That is a huge deal. Like, that's...
Yeah, but now you're talking about 2 rares, essentially, in the algorithm coming together, so that's not going to happen.
It's going to happen. Like, there will...
Sure.
Yeah.
See,
so, I don't know.
What's interesting is you guys... When I first saw this was not something that immediately jumped out at me. I was actually a little bit sad to see the combination, because it's taking up 4 of your 12. But the more we keep talking about Roof Laboratory, I think that there is quite a bit of power in that.
Yeah, for me, I'm not excited about the Forge, because I think, honestly, you're giving up 4 slots here. But I don't want to see this in the Data Forge decks that we were talking about before. But I just want to see this in other just good Logos draws that have, like, the big Logos board like we were talking about back in set 3, set 4, because it became possible to have a deck that just wants to sit in Logos. And we have seen that happen. There are a bunch of MM decks that just love to play Logos, and they wreck with it because of the Lethologicas and all the stuff. We could see that again here, where you just have these decks that are going to draw and archive constantly with all these scientists that are being played from hand ready. It's because, as we know, artifacts are hard to address. That's been a big talk this last week. But anyway, moving on from our 4-card combo, what's our next number?
Oh, shoot. I hit the wrong button. Number 15 is our next
15,
number.
Yeah, 15 is where we're going.
All right, 15, we're looking at Backup Plan. It is a rare action. Archive the top card of your deck for each creature your opponent controls in excess of you. So this is kind of like a weird Dr. Millie, except it's not from hand. It's an action. And again, like when we started this off with the professor talking about, like, you archive a lot of cards in weird ways. This is obviously one of them. In the right situation, this happening could literally win you the game. Like, if you're archiving like 6 or 8 creatures off the top of your deck, and you have one of these Data Forge decks that we're talking about, like we talked a little bit about last cast, that can set up craziness because you're going to have a huge archive. This could be part of that setup. This is a rare card. But again, Data Forge is just an uncommon, so you're not asking a lot from the algorithm to make this card plus Data Forge. But the question is, do opponents play around this cheap? Like, if my opponent has the combos in the Logos, do you, like, kind of play around this like you would Red Alert, or as if Quixelstone were in play or something?
Ooh.
Can you afford to discard creatures to back up?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like... No, I don't think so, because I don't even see people usually playing around the Sanctum artifact or the Sanctum card that gives Amber for every creature you have and more. And that's somewhat kind of devastating.
Sure.
Yeah. I was actually thinking this
until I got burned a bunch, I didn't play around Red Alert as much as I should. I definitely do now. But you're right, I do play around Glorious Few less. There was somebody that played Hold the Line for like 7 cards against me the other day. I was like, well, that's cute. Because
that's right. I think this card is like the improved version of what's the other, and it's in set, the other rare Logos card that if you have an empty board, you get to archive one for each enemy creature.
Master the theory, yeah.
Like, that card is hot trash compared to this.
Yes, this card is way, way better. Because
Way
that
better,
other
'cause
one
it's
is
not
not
from
a.
hand.
It's a must as well. This is also a must, but the fact that it's not from hand in the set that has the Data Forge combo, like, this is potentially way better than all of those cards we just named. And you're right, I don't think it's going to be played around. There are definitely scenarios where you should be playing around this. I just don't think I ever will see people do that. So I want this card. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see people play around it until they get wrecked. You right now have some big board decks in both Worlds Collide and MM, and even a few of them coming through AOA.
Yeah,
And
AOA has
that-
boards too. Yep.
Correct. So if you're seeing decks there, it's very possible that people either glitch and don't think about it. They don't see it as it's being a rare.
And
You may
it's
not
a
have a lot of
rare, yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
So I think the combination, it'll be there, and in the right deck, it's really going to help you. But that's where you start to think about, red alert. Is this creature really valuable for me? Is this what I need to throw down, or should I just discard it? And that we're going to have to think about.
Sure. All right. What's our next number, guys?
17.
Chronophage. Do you want to take this one, Eagle? Oh,
Beast robot. Your opponent's artifacts and creatures gain Omega.
god dang.
This
You
thing's
could-
broken.
You couldn't tell that that Logos was Brad's favorite set, could you?
Oh, Brad did not make this.
Brad's effectively dead.
No, Brad's fingerprints are all the way up to set 7.
No, this set is led by Aaron.
Yeah,
It was
Aaron was
led
lead
by,
design.
but never mind. We'll talk about it off camp.
I'm sure he had ideas put in for all of them, but this set was led by Aaron.
It is important to note, like I mentioned, there's very little protection. I don't think there is any taunt. There's definitely not taunt on common. There's no ward in common. So there is a good chance that you can address this immediately. It is only 3 power. But again, this is almost more devastating than any witch has ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this makes
It's not
Ember
just
look like a
creatures.
joke.
It's artifacts and creatures gain Omega.
So
That is
play a card
ridiculous.
pass. That's it, right?
is-
Play a card pass. That's what you're doing.
Well, but
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen because someone's going to play their creature right away and go, "Oh, I forgot."
Now, not my turn, and
so-
You know that, and you know that it's going to happen because you're going to miss it. It's wow.
This one is also one-sided, though, right? This says enemies.
Yep, your
yeah,
opponent.
this is
Just
enemies.
your
This
opponents.
is
Yeah.
the most devastating witch-like thing probably ever.
Could you imagine if this existed with a form?
With a what?
Like that with a ghost form.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Well,
2
honestly,
cards, good
anything
game.
really, like even if it had taunt in it or
I
hologramophone,
was going to say,
Like,
is there
those aren't here.
There's no taunt in Logos in set, correct?
No,
I was trying to
There's no-
scroll to find one. I'm like, is there any?
no.
There's
Titan
Captain
does not come back.
Corsage who can get it.
He can gain taunt. Yeah,
But-
he can gain taunt, but he doesn't automatically have taunt.
Correct.
Yes. So there's no there's no inherent taunt. There's no easy warding, which I think we have a new card disposal today that we'll get to. One of the very, very few cards in the entire set that has ward. So it is hard to protect.
Legacy.
This is one of those cards that would be a phenomenal Maverick for sure. Look, if this card gets Mavericked in the freaking Untamed, where you can make it like a 10.
Or you
Look,
can always Legacy hologramophone it.
Yeah, a Legacy hologramophone, that would be great. Or even just a Legacy Titan Guardian. Any way to make it not die immediately, because it will create more heat than Witch of the Eye, because it is more devastating.
And what's kind of nuts though is bouncing Death Quirks in set. I thought I saw it in here when I was scrolling through.
Yeah, I believe you are correct.
Really good.
So board wipe.
Oh, it has a better board wipe. Yeah.
Is there a better board wipe in here?
Yeah, we scored it last night. Final analysis, destroy all creatures. Yep.
All right. So,
Draw a card for each
Draw a
one.
bunch of cards.
all right.
And then
Well, you can have all the cards you want because you can only play one creature.
Unless you can,
or you're going to phase
kill
shift punk them.
I mean, phase shift is back in set.
Yeah, double phase shift Starline.
I'm not thrilled about it, but it is what it is.
Oh, wait till we get
Not
Starline.
thrilled. We're wetting ourselves.
I know.
All right. So now we're going to split down to card 24. Ruined City. Artifact. Rare. Has a pip. 1 amber. When you play, place 4 amber from the common supply onto Ruined City and archive a card. After a player plays 6 cards on their turn, if Ruined City is ready, move all of this amber to their place. Okay.
This is not, and there's like one of these style of cards in most houses that I've looked at, where it's put 4 amber on it and some silly trigger and then either player can get the 4 amber.
So the pros of this are you're
giving your opponent
getting an amber and you're archiving a card when you play this. So it's already lab work. So let's be clear about this. Lab work is a real good card, guys.
Yep.
This card is already doing lab work ability on play. It's going to come in tap. It's going to come in exhausted, so you cannot use it first. So if your opponent does manage to fire off 6 cards on a single turn, they're going to be the first to get the 4 amber, and then it's going to get destroyed. But this card exists in the set where you're almost like there's a bunch of Logos lines that will auto be able to hit the trigger at some point in the game, whereas like 99% of decks cannot trigger this effect. Right?
Yeah, without a hot draw.
Yeah, like minus bonkers luck. 99% of decks are not going to achieve this naturally in a game.
Well, we know what
this is probably the best one that I've seen as far as type of thing, because most of the time you're running a pretty big risk by doing these. Inherently, these types of Logos decks are already good at this. So yeah, this is a pretty good one, and and on top of all of this, even if your Logo set isn't good at this, it's still lab work, and it's super unlikely your opponent can do that. Right?
As long as they're not also playing a deck that decides to burn and turn in Logos.
I mean,
there are plenty of deck archetypes that'll play 6 cards in a turn.
Yeah.
And it could be taken, and it's just something you should be able to look at a deck and know. I mean, there's also just drawing 6 of the same house. This does happen.
Yeah.
Or card crafting for a week to make it happen.
Yes.
But I agree. I think, in general, the risk on this one is okay.
This is the lowest risk one, what I'm saying. There are very few scenarios where I don't play this at minimum for the lab work value and be worried about it. What we got next, Ewok?
Well, we actually are seeing our good friend the Archivist coming back.
Why is this important, Ewok? Break that down for us.
Well, in case you missed it, Archivist is extremely powerful in that I can choose if it gets archived. So if you archive the Archivist, archive it face up. While the Archivist is in your archives, instead of picking up all of your archives, you may choose to pick up any number of cards in your archives. With everything that we've been talking about Logos being able to archive.
So last week when we talked about Mind Over Matter being back in set, Mobius Scroll being back in set, and this week backup plan when we're archiving a jillion cards at random. Yeah, Archivist sounds pretty good.
Yeah, like there's been a couple MM decks that I played with where he does some really good work, but there isn't actually enough archive in MM to make it happen. But man, from what we're reading, we think it's a thing in this set.
Sure.
So I think he could really.
Every new set comes out, man. Remember MM? We were real excited for archiving, and I don't see archive. I mean, there's decks still out there that can't archive just a truckload. But every set we get so excited for the archiving, and we just don't end up seeing it happen as much as we think we're going to.
You're not playing the decks I'm playing.
Yeah, but say, do you play MM?
Do I play MM? Yeah, sure. Sure, why not? Anyways, what do we got going on next?
Card number 33, Archons Recall. A nice little Omega with the text that says, play, draw 5 cards. What do you guys think about this?
I think it's
This is
phenomenal
like
if you get it
Commune.
on the play.
Yep, it's like Commune, right? Turn 1, great. The rest of the game, awful.
It's not as awful as Commune the rest. Most of the time, you're playing 3 or 4 cards after you set up your
so you might
hand.
get a couple of draw.
So it is a net 1 efficiency even after the play, but obviously this is gold if you get it on the play. It could also make some of those, I have a 4 Logos board, 1 Logos card in hand. Like, that's a great turn then, right? You get your board action and you're playing your 1 card. Next turn, you have a 10 card hand. So I think it is way better than Commune. Not nearly as good as just like... I don't think it's as good as Eureka.
I was just going to ask you, this card or Eureka?
I take Eureka.
Eureka.
And what's interesting is, I mean, it's coming in with that action in an uncommon slot. So I don't think that's...
Can you imagine 3 of these in a deck, though?
Oh, no, I don't want to see that. I mean, you have a higher probability of pulling it on that open draw, but no.
You also have a higher probability of having 2 or 3 of them in hand.
And that's sad. That's sad. All right, next card.
Should we move to Mecha Buoy?
Mecha Buoy.
Get an ember every time you play it. At the start of each player's turn, if the tide is high, they gain 1 ember.
There are a lot of these cards, too, where it's symmetrical...
Ish.
Yeah, but I guess this is at the start of turn, so, like, this card's almost never going to go off, assuming you're both playing Dark Tidings and you're actually swapping Tide.
Well, no, even if you're not playing both playing Dark Tidings, you can always force your opponent to not get this hammer.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, it's
because during any active player's turn, they can turn the Tide off, then it moves them and it doesn't trigger. But this is another one of those cards I think is going to really hurt a lot of low efficiency decks. Like, I've always been on you need high efficiency. Over the time, I've identified and looked at some great high arc decks that don't necessarily need the efficiency. But this is there's a bunch of cards that are like this. I think there is an artifact in every house that has something like this that is going to force people to get chains in decks that are already slow. Decks that are already inherently slow cannot afford to add 3 chains to them. So this is an interesting, if the set in just base raw value is as good as the other sets, this swings it favor against all of those lower efficiency decks to the point where we could see a bigger lean towards high efficiency play decks, more zoomies that have archiving of their own. Because they're going to have to take chain.
Yeah, and as it is an artifact and uncommon, I mean, you're going to have to be able to weigh, is 2 amber worth going ahead and taking those 3 chains each time?
Well, 1 amber.
At the start of each player's turn. So if I'm going to choose not to go ahead and turn the tide high, I'm giving you 2.
No, it's at the start of that player's turn. If the tide is high, they gain amber.
Yeah. It says
okay, sorry. Yeah, you are right.
Yeah, we still haven't seen the tide rules because these cards still read weird. Because when you read if it's high, it's the active players reading that. So, or the owner, it's the tide for the owner of the card. I think I'm not sure. I still need to read the tide rules because they still don't really. They don't internalize to me yet. But this one would be 1 amber. If the tide is high on your turn, you're going to have the amber. But I wonder if this could come in multiples.
I think you can.
That would make it way more interesting.
And like I said, there is a card that is similar to this kind of effect that I think in almost every house. It's not like this exactly, but there's something along this line, and if you have 1 from each of them, and that's down, and you're forcing your opponent to constantly take the tide,
that's a bunch of these in open format where you're not just facing Dark Tidings could be really interesting. Yeah. Where you don't really want the tide high, but you have to take it because otherwise I get to archive a card, I get to get an amber, I get to exhaust one of your creatures, I get to do all kinds of
shenanigans,
stuff.
yeah. Not to mention the value of their cards are better. And then we have Mind Bullet is our next up. It's an uncommon action, card 43. On play, deal 1 damage to each creature for each card you've already played this turn. So this card is actually quite effective, but I am going to say I hate this. Players constantly forget what they've done during the turn. I've seen this as a TO of many events, including primes. This is I don't know. I hate this just because there are humans playing this game. We're all human. We all have a certain amount of capacity. This sucks.
There is definitely some additional tracking in the set that is a pain in the ass.
This isn't the only one. The key cheat needs this too.
Yep.
Well, it's
and then there's it's just the extra tracking in this set is going to be a little messy.
Don't like it. Obviously, if you play on TCO is going to do that for you, and it's going to be fine. But in real life,
especially when you don't count these things and then use a wild wormholes type effect to trigger it.
Yeah,
because there are those in set, so you're not counting. You're just doing things because you're like, I don't have the card. Whatever, you do a bunch of things, and then you.
The ship is wild wormhole. It is a lot of stuff. I really hate this card. Is what I'm saying. It's just. I think it's actually a good card. I hate it.
So what's interesting is this is immediately making me think of Plague Rats, because it's to each creature.
Yeah.
So,
it's a two-sided, right? It kills your guys and their guys.
It is a damage-based board wipe.
Motion and vulnerabilities in set.
I don't know. Is it?
Yeah. Oh, who knows? I mean, I don't think that's enough to get really excited about, but it's something.
It's something. All in all, this is yet a third near board wipe inside of this house. Actually, a fourth.
Seems like it can play a lot of cards.
A fourth near board wipe, because you've got to count Mind Matter in a way. So it is. I think it will be effective. It's on uncommon. I just don't like the mechanic in general. It will stress. I think it will cause some stress in games. It doesn't need to be there. In competitive.
Who wants to do regular Professor Gwen?
Sure. Professor Gwen. So 3 power, 0 armor, human scientist, and she has elusive. She is a creature uncommon with the reap ability. You may choose a card from your archives and put it in your hand.
I kind of love that this one is way better than the evil one. I know the evil ones are special and they're gimmicky, but we're going to see this one a lot more than the evil one. And this one is at least twice as good.
Yeah, elusive, stronger.
Yeah, one more power, effect. Elusive. The reap effect doesn't lose value from the amber you give up.
Was it a may effect or a must effect?
It's a may. Choose a card from your archive and put it in your hand. It is way better than the other one.
Way better.
And again, it's kind of like a reverse Ganymede Archivist. Ganymede Archivist also often got killed quite fast, but this one's elusive.
We're not talking about the Ganymede Archivist. It is a bad word in my house right now.
What? Why? Did you lose a game to Ganymede Archivist?
Because he thinks it's a Novu Archaeologist. Yeah.
I like to go ahead and think it's a Novu Archaeologist. All right.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you thought.
Yeah. No. This seems like a good card, and you said she was on uncommon.
Yeah.
This is an uncommon. Which I love that this is the non-evil version, because again, we're going to see this way more often.
12 times as many.
That's our assumption. What's next?
Think again.
Egad.
Think again is where things start to get broken, guys. I'll take this.
Think again.
I want decks with this
47.
card.
Oh, I must.
47. Uncommon action. Play an action card from your discard pile, then purge it. So I just played some stupid combo. I played Data Forge. I forged a key for free. Now I'm playing Think Again. Guess what? I just forged my second key for free. Boom.
And that means I have 10 plus cards in my hand to make enough amber to say answer or lose.
Yes.
Assuming I wasn't already just forging third key.
Yeah, assuming that wasn't key 2 and key 3.
This is also a house cheat, right? This can be any house.
Yeah,
this does not have to be
an action card, so it doesn't have to be that one. It could be anything. Yeah, like this is real good. Makes me very happy.
I mean, logo seems like it's fast enough. You're going to flip your deck, but I mean, how often are you really playing through your deck? 3 times, so you're getting the 2 effects out of the action you kind of expect anyways.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're likely purging out something you have to have later. I mean, games can go long, and you may purge a card that ends up losing you the game because you purged a board wipe and then needed it again.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely situations with this card, but just in general, the other place is purging out your god awful dinos actions that are
and remember
around.
Again, it's also play. Library card is in this. We talked about this last time. So this is another card, just like Phase Shift. As soon as you play it, you're basically getting 2 draws off of this under library card effect. Like this card just combos with so many things in this set. Like this is an uncommon that I will definitely be having searches up for, because just it existing in the deck means that there's potential brokenness. Obviously, it needs a lot of other pieces for it to get to that upper level, but there's just so much value there. All right, Evo, what's next?
I believe is where
I thought
Wookie was talking Old Egad.
Old. 1 power, 2 armor, cyborg destroyed. Ward each of Old Egad's neighbors.
And interestingly, this is Ward. There isn't a ton of Ward that we have in this set, but Old Egad is one of those pieces, and it's a destroyed ability.
I know the full set got spoiled today or yesterday. I know 4 days ago when I did a global search, which at that point was 95% spoiled cards, there were only 3 cards in the entire set that had the ability to ward a creature. At the time, this was one of the 3. So while I think this is a relatively bad card, it is very important to note that this is a way to ward your crazy scientist with Bouncing Death Quirk or whatever that has the Omega, and is also one of the only cards in the set that is going to do this.
It's coming in at a common slot too, so that's important to remember. What are your common cards for each house? I don't know how I feel about having multiples of Old Egad in my deck, though. Especially knowing what Logos has as options. I think that would make me a little bit sad. The one
I think
power
the
two
scenarios where I want Old Egad, like obviously, I love the draw. I love to play fast. I'm the guy that's going to be gunning real hard for the Data Forge deck and trying to manipulate that. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to play. But if we go back to that deck that had the 4 link card, and then the Omega Scientist guy. If I have that deck, I think I do want a couple Old Egads with Bouncing Death Quirk, because then I can set up my Super Scientist Witch that makes your guys all Omega, set up my combo that can unforge one of your keys, with some wording. This is one of the only ways to get that. So there's a line of logos that I could see where I want him, because I know this is the only way I can get my ward. But for the most part, I think the decks that people want, that is going to be the most in demand, you're not going to want to see Old Egad. You just don't care if your creatures are warded. So, that's my 2 Old Egad. There is a deck where
common
he
or
is viable.
uncommon?
He is uncommon. You will see him a lot. Just as much as Eddie, though.
So, going over to 58, our next card, P.I. Sven, 2 power, 0 armor, human scientist. Coming in, creature, common, reap. If the tide is high, draw 3 cards. So how many of P.I. Sven do you want to see in regards to, compared to Old Egad?
I only want to see Sven if I have the quad set where my scientists come in ready. I have had many decks with Professor Sudigan. I think I might have reaped with Sudigan like one time in existence.
I put this guy more in line with Babbling Bibliophile.
Well, I mean, he has the same power as Sutter. So,
yeah, they're all in the same thing, and like they're all must-answer creatures. right? You play them down, your opponent often has to answer them.
But the thing is, I'm rich with Babbling Bibliophile. You want to know why? Hologramophone and Titan Guardian. Neither of those cards exist in the set, so you got to be looking at this more like Sutter.
Yeah, but it's still good, because how often do you see a Sutter King come down and you don't just immediately go about killing it, unless it's the only card they played, right? Like, the threat of these guys is high enough that they have to be answered, and that makes them worth, well, definitely more than old EGAD or whatever that we were just talking about.
Yeah. Well, he's obviously better than he has to assert. But in general, I'm not excited about him unless I have the card that says Scientists always come in ready. And in that case, I want Savin, I want Vellum and Hyde, because you end up with this really brokenly fast creature-based logo board that they can't answer because you have Dusk Witch Scientist. So yeah. Basically, I either want ridiculously action-based logos or the special thing and a bunch of scientists. Because those scenarios are real hard to address.
Speaking of scientists, card 59, Science! Play for
now, this is my language here.
Play for the remainder of turn, gain 1 Ember each time you play another action card.
Totally fair, totally balanced. By the way, if you play Think Again, that's 2 Amber.
Thank you. Thank you.
Phase Shift is 2 Amber.
Yep.
Am I the only one who's screaming Bill Nye in the background?
No.
Science!
All right.
No, I've got the 80s song.
This is also a common. So if you get like 3 of these in a deck, let's go.
This is like Full Moon stupid, kinda.
Yeah, so
except there's no.
So you get 3 in
There's no amber-based key cheat.
Play Science, and then play Science to gain 1, and then play another Science to gain...
I mean, Data Forge can be used with Amber. I mean, if you hit 30 Amber, you're still Fortunate Key. Right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
but this along with Library Card.
Yeah, like Library Cards in set. We have all these way to draw cards. You have all these way to archive cards. Like where you mentioned Think Again and Phase Shift.
Archives, Phase Shift.
This is a busted card.
Yeah,
you're gonna see decks with.
This is a little dirty. I mean, not that they're not always a little dirty, but they seem. I don't know. This seems way more busted than normal.
I want a day where I play 5 of these cards in a row. I'll be so happy. There we go. There's the 5 of Dave. I'm not selling that one to you if I see it. It's just going to be funny.
So you play
science.
Play Science to gain 1, to play Science to gain 2, to play Science to gain 3, to play Science to gain 4?
Yep.
Oof. That seems like that's more math than I want to do in a Keyforge game. Back to those triggers that you have to kind of pay attention to. God forbid you play something in between your sciences.
The thing that I like with this, and also some of these other cards that are in set that we haven't really talked about today, though, there's a lot of bonus Amber game that isn't actually pips on cards, which gets around in Furnace without having to reap. Like, one of the ways you end up having to beat these powerful Infernus decks that are out in the meta is you have to reap, right? Because you've got to make Amber that they can't eat. But there are a lot of cards in this set that have bonus Amber situations that are not pips.
For sure.
All right, we'll get through our last 2 cards here and then kind of wrap it up. Card number 60, which we didn't see before, is Static Charge. Gain an Ember every time you play it. This creature gains... I'm sorry, it is a item. This creature gains at the start of your turn. Upgrade. At the start of your turn, deal 2 damage to each neighbor of this creature.
But not this creature. So that is interesting. It's one of those painful upgrades you put on theirs that start killing the rest of their line. Because it deals no damage to the creature you're putting it on, stays there. Like,
what was the timing on this card?
So
at the start of your turn.
So if I play it on theirs, it still happens during my turn. If I
but they just fight the creature dead.
Not if it's got skirmish.
It's a really slow answer, right? Because if you need to kill something, this is the card that doesn't, right? You
But
put
it's
it down and
constantly
go,
killing
okay.
It's not like a real answer to boards. It is very
No,
annoying
however,
card.
I just
very
like-
annoying.
I see it in my crazy. I see him playing my logo or my AOA because I'm an idiot and I still play AOA. And you put it on one of my guys, and I put my Merrick the Marked with an extra armor on it next to it, and just that's how I like to think about it.
I
Sure.
suppose just put. I mean, Sanctum isn't set. 2 armor, I'm sure isn't. I haven't looked at the Sanctum really hard, but I'm sure 2 armor isn't hard.
2
to come
armor
by.
is not that hard.
So yeah.
I mean, that still is removing the armor for your turn, though, so at least you're getting... Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this card, it's fine. It gives you an amber. It has an effect. I'm not
Tough
going to
to
be
say.
excited to have it.
We'll hold judgment until later, until further notice.
Final card. 61. We don't know its name. It is a question mark, but essentially...
You know, I'd like it if it were just a question mark.
Goodness.
That'd be a fantastic card name.
It is an action common, because of course it would be common. Play. Each player loses 1 amber. If the tide is high, each player loses half their amber, rounding down the loss instead. Effervescent Principle, anyone?
Yeah.
It's EP without chain. That's what we have.
Well,
Unless you need to race tide, and then it's 3 chains.
Tide, and then it's 3 chains. So now it's become
Every house has a common to raise tide.
You know where I like it is the lose 1 apiece isn't so painful when I draw it on my
Inevitable library card turn,
Yeah.
and
Or
I
your,
don't have to
your
discard
wild
it.
hole.
Yeah, like it. I mean, it's one of the few proxy scaling amber cards that I've seen in the set, so it has value.
It has a lot of value because, again, I'm aiming for that combo deck. To set up my combo, I need time. Sometimes I'm going to have to crush a lot of amber to make that happen. The fact that it is in here, uncommon, and I don't have to go out of house to find it, very significant for those possible decks that can be formed.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's all about the commons, and the one thing we can leave you with, as we leave logos, is commons are real good.
When are
There will
logos
be
commons
great
not
decks.
real good?
In logos?
Yes.
AOA.
Name it. No, AOA did have some real good commons, set comparatively to other houses in the set. AOA, I mean, besides AOA, what house did you go, man, logos, man, they are just looking like they're not.
Why besides AOA? It's a set.
Well, I know it's a
Logos
set,
has
but
obviously always been one of the top sets.
they've
Since the
always
top
been
sets
a
are Logos and
powerhouse.
this.
Even in AOA, they're still a powerhouse. Like,
They're not in the best decks. Well, I guess they are.
They
Yeah, they are.
What are you talking about?
No, the commons.
The common creatures are okay, and that's what makes AOA okay. It's definitely not the action.
But it's not the commons in AOA that are needed in the best AOA decks. They actually, those are also rares. They're like memory chip, and I guess that's uncommon.
Let me just go ahead and name some cards that aren't rare. And those are logos.
They're not the commons
Logos
they're
is
not
yet
the
to get
commons.
the shit end of the stick.
because it
This
sucks.
is true.
They have yet
Logos
to
is
pick them,
consistently
man.
a good house to have.
Yes.
Yes.
They have yet to get a man. I hope
I do not believe there's any set where Logos is not first or second set.
They're top 3 in every set, bare minimum. Bare minimum
Yeah,
top
and
3.
in most people's evaluations, it would hit third in some. For me, the way I play, it's either first or second in every set.
I mean, I
they
remember
were
a
very good
time
cards.
where you wanted shadows all the time, except for like the last 2 sets. Now you're like,
I've been down on Shadows since every set after Coda.
I don't think
I'm
AOA
telling
shadows
you,
are
I
You
don't
can go back and check the tapes on my rankings. I've always put them in the garbage.
I don't even think Coda Shadows stands up that well outside of a few very specific sets.
Not anymore. It used to.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think Archons are good enough anymore.
Is that a problem? And then
Not unless you have
like
5 of them.
Like, Urchins are no longer like my baseline of what a good card is. I don't think Urchins cut it anymore.
No, they don't. Shadows.
They're okay, but
Shadows has been in the garbage for like the past, at least bare minimum, Worlds Collide Mass Mutation.
Yeah, I had them ranked real low. I had Shadows ranked real low in MM.
They
And
have some real good MM set.
They
do,
but
but
I
the
still don't like
very good shadows is few.
They're often pretty bad in Worlds Collide.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. Like they have good combinations, but they're few and far between. You're not seeing them like you did. Like,
They got
shadows. This is a good chance. This is a decent
piles of Bonithians and piles of red pennies on common make it often tolerable in MM.
All that in response to me just saying that Logos has real good
Yes,
combos.
because I'm still waiting for the day where Logos. You're like, man, I hope I don't see Logos in one of these.
So what's interesting is there's
I am most likely never going to play a Dark Tidings deck that does not have Logos. I will say that for sure.
So here's the thing: is after Z buys his ridiculous DataForge deck, and then rocks the first Vault Tour with it, does DataForge get errated to purge it?
I doubt it.
And then Z cries.
Well,
I think there's more control.
Then I'll use the other one. I'll use Keyforging Treaty after that.
I think.
Oh wait, it already has purge on that one. Damn it!
When it comes down to the algorithm, I think there's more control than where we'd like to think.
I think you would like to think that, but that seems to be given way too much credit. So.
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's some stupid stuff, but again, the stupid stuff is very, very far in between.
Because the stupid stuff in past has been on rare.
Yeah,
this is not on rare.
This is true.
Like how many triple dust picky double nature's call Chota decks exist? A crap ton.
That's true.
Yes.
So what's interesting, I'll kind of redirect here. Out of the 16 common cards for Logos, we have 8 creatures, 6 actions, 1 upgrade, and 1 artifact. You have Amber Control in basically Effervescent Principle. You have some steel that's there. You have a little bit of option. You have the ability to phase shift or go out of your own house. You also have some Amber Generation with Science. You have some flexibility in cards like Theory or Conjecture for archiving. You have an artifact that can archive. So I think that's where we're really looking at it. You have the board wipe with Final Analysis, destroy each creature.
Logos has everything it ever needed in set. It has Ember Control, it has Efficiency, it has the possibility now of being full control.
Board wipe.
It has board wipes. Name something in this set of Logos that's missing. What more could you want?
I could have used my creatures to hand on common. That would have been great.
So the other piece that jumped out at me, which was really interesting, we do see an enhancement.
That's what your phase shift is for.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
we're good.
Shut up, Z.
The other piece that was interesting is I did not see any cards that provided enhancements from this.
They have Infomorph.
Oh, you're right.
Infomorph.
Yeah, every house has one creature except for I think.
Okay, so that's the one.
Yeah, they have Infomorph.
Which lets them.
So even the common they got.
Which, by the way, is
the best one.
Is going to let 2 of their cards let them drop more cards.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
But that's interesting.
I mean,
that they got the best mutant. Yep.
Well, no, they're falling in their house, but so we're seeing it, but just at a very, very low rate. Again, Logos is hot.
Kurzap is looking back up. Kurzap looks good against this set again.
Yep.
So I think that's going to do it for us this week. I'm excited for next week. Sanctum next week, right?
Yeah, and we might actually bring you a Sanctum set that's not hot garbage.
Yeah,
so if you like Sanctum like me, which I actually have always kind of liked Sanctum, except Nathan hates it. DOK always hated it.
Don't join FFG, Sanctum lover.
There's another Discord for people like you.
Oh God. But anyway, I've always been happy with it to an extent. So maybe it'll finally get some decks of Keyforge love. We'll show you why next.
Ooh, I just saw something in this whole thing too. But yeah, you'll see why next week. We'll go into it. I just scrolled 2 inches down and went, ooh, that could be a dirty combo. But that's gonna do it for us this week. Final thoughts, Z.
Keyforge keys come out to play in the KFBL next weekend. See you there. Peace.
Mr. JR.
Remember to go ahead and look at combos. Ask. It doesn't matter where you are in your Keyforge journey. It is okay to be able to learn. This is a learning process. We have fun with it as a game. So keep forging keys and have fun, guys.
And Dan.
Keep playing those events.
That's going to do it for us this week, guys. We'll see you next week with Sanctum. Take care.